What's going on, everyone? Badger here. Make sure to like and sub, and let's get into this. And this, thankfully, is the Critical Drinker with his video, The Death of the Girl Boss. And I hope, and I'm sure he will, make the distinction that the Girl Boss is actually a new phenomenon that really did come about with like the Captain Marvel, Rey Skywalker, and it's only gotten worse from there. And I think we hit peak Girl Boss with Echo just now, and we're seeing the results. And I hope he also makes clear that we actually do like women, strong, well written women. And obviously the old examples would be Sigourney Weaver, Ripley, or Sarah Connor before they ruined her character in Dark Fate, whatever. Gina Davis, Long Kiss Goodnight. How about Underworld, Kate Beckinsale, whole bunch of them. We liked her. The Alias, Jennifer Gardner. We can keep going. The point is, they were all well written, and that's something that's been missing. So, as we just read that article earlier, that Disney knows they have messed up, and they're quietly trying to fix it by essentially hiring people that know what they're doing and doing better writing, and then doing less. Let's see what Drinker has to say.
Now, I believe it was Newton's third law of motion, which states that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Unfortunately, it doesn't work quite the same way in the world of corporate entertainment, where the rule would be better described as, for every 50 or so actions, there's an extremely belated and insufficient reaction. A good example of this would be the disastrous series of flops we've seen over the past year or two. Projects like Rings of Power, Peter Pan and Wendy, Ahsoka, She-Hulk, Resident Evil, Robin Hood, The Witcher, The Marvels, and most recently,
I blocked out Resident Evil and the Peter Pan one. I totally forgot they came out.
Madam Web.
Why did you say that name?
I mean, let's be honest here, that was a movie that anyone with more brain cells than me after 6 pints of Skull Splitter knew was going to be a massive flop, despite having an opening weekend almost as long as its entire theatrical run if it carries on at this pace. I love this quote from The Hollywood Reporter from a North American distributor. On Wednesday night, you could actually watch advanced ticket sales declining in real time as buyers were refunding their tickets. It really says something when you'd rather have Shazam 2 numbers. The point is that when a big flop like this happens, the access media tends to scramble to find a convenient and politically acceptable excuse. But in this case, The Hollywood Reporter seems to have made an admission about the film's target audience that I don't think anyone expected. Quote, "I don't know if women are enough to carry the box office here," one veteran studio source outside of Sony says. Indeed, males make up 65 to 70% of the superhero audience in North America. In the case of Madam...
Oh, said the quiet part out loud. That's what happened with, obviously, the Marvels, too.
Web, the percentage of female viewers was still only 46%. Now pay attention, 007, because this one's important. Madam Web was a superhero movie specifically designed to appeal to a female audience. It's got a female lead,
Was it, though?
a trio of female supporting characters, a female director, and a female-led writing team. And guess what? None of it helped. Women didn't turn out to see it, not in the numbers they needed anyway. It was the same problem with The Marvels. That film had 3 female leads, a female director, and an all-female writing team. And what happened to it? The male audience was put off by a movie that did everything except ban them from attending screenings. The much anticipated female audience failed to show up, and as a result, it was the biggest box office flop in MCU history.
Well, and if you believe Bob Iger, it's because there weren't enough Disney executive on set to corral that Nia DaCosta, their casted black director. So, guess he maybe did a racism.
So tell me, what exactly did these two movies have in common? That's right, they both tried to pander to an audience that was never going to see them in the first place. You know, it's actually kind of funny reading articles from mainstream outlets that cover stuff like this, because it's like watching someone with an almost complete jigsaw puzzle who simply refuses...
Oh, look, the nega bands. Yeah, they call them the cosmic bands, but they're actually the nega bands.
...to put the final piece into place because they don't like the picture that it forms. Well, if they won't do it, then I'll have to do it for them. Because here's an inconvenient truth, dear viewer. Men and women tend to be interested in different things.
Oh, I hope he plays Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson talks this a lot. Men like things and women are into like people and emotions. Shocking, I know.
Man. Oh, God. Oh, man.
I know it's truly an earth-shattering revelation, but there it is. In fact, if you care to break down the box office statistics by gender, you'll find that women make up 85% of audiences for romance movies and 70% for musical.
Okay.
Men, on the other hand, make up 70% of the audience for superhero movies, 75% for action movies, and 65% for science fiction and fantasy.
Stop
In
alienating
fact,
us.
this nifty little graphic from the British Film Institute breaks down the preferred genres for men and women, and you can clearly see the difference in preference between them. That's not a good or a bad thing, but it is a thing that movie studios should pay attention to. Instead, they've been doing the exact opposite in recent years. They seem to regard audience demographics as a problem that needs to be fixed, instead of the inevitable result of different groups of people having different interests. And the thing is, their solution has produced the worst possible outcome for everyone.
And thank you, Drinker, because now we know, thanks to Film Threat, that not only did they intentionally alienate the audience that you just saw, but they hired their animators from Tumblr specifically because they were influencers and they thought that those influencers could bring in new audiences that they planned to alienate, because male and pale is stale, baby.
In the case of the big box office franchises like Marvel, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Star Trek, and others, which naturally tend to skew towards a male audience, they made a conscious decision to tell more stories with female leads.
Conscious decision,
a lot more.
indeed.
There's nothing wrong with that on the face of it, but whether or not it works all comes down to implementation. Instead of writing likable and distinctly feminine characters that complemented the existing male ones, the writers and creatives treated it more like a competition that only one side was ever allowed to win. A story about a female protagonist learning to free herself from the oppressive demands of others and discover her true potential is a perfectly viable story to tell. The problems creep in when that becomes the only story that you ever tell, and their standard practice of lazily taking stereotypical male traits and pouring them straight into female characters failed to win anyone over. Men were generally put off by the new crop of overbearing, aggressive, infallible girl bosses who seem to exist purely to show off and humiliate their male counterparts at every opportunity, while women failed to connect with them either because they represented masculine ideals that didn't come naturally to them in a genre that most of them didn't particularly care for anyway.
That's the other thing. They accused us of being gatekeepers. Meanwhile, we were so open. Star Wars, Star Trek, or actually Lord of the Rings, they told you to fuck right off and ratioed all your videos. But everyone else, we were so open, and they didn't even like it. They never liked it. The same people that ended up getting control of these franchises are the ones that would have called you a fucking nerd if you liked Star Wars or Star Trek or tried to explain the difference between the two. And that's the worst part, is that the people that didn't like it, never wanted it, took it over, said we were the problem, alienated us all, and now they're all in shambles and they don't understand what happened.
In short, Hollywood's wasted billions of dollars chasing an audience that doesn't exist, and in the process, they've gradually pushed away the one that did. On the flip side, look at what happens when you actually understand your target audience and make a film that caters specifically to them. Barbie was the biggest hit of 2023, and even if I personally didn't like it, that doesn't matter one bit because it wasn't made for me. It was a movie written and directed specifically for women. Everything from its aesthetics to its dialogue to its themes and messaging were designed to appeal to female audiences, and it worked big time. Top Gun Maverick, on the other hand, was aimed primarily at men because it incorporated so many of the
and fucking patriots, America, fuck yeah,
masculine tropes and themes that men traditionally find appealing. Action and explosions, advanced technology, fighter jets, militarism, macho conflict and competition. Both of these films,
but also, like, I'm making a joke, but that's also a lot of what it was. Used to take pride, if you're an American, used to be able to take pride in American, not so much past few years, because even if you do still have a belief in the ideals and you want to be patriotic, you get called like a Nazi, basically. Yeah, whatever, I'm saying it. You get called fucking Nazi for saluting our flag, nationalism, whatever. I'm very proud. So this movie, when it showed it in a positive light, didn't shit on the men or the country or anything else. It was very refreshing, which is why everyone went to go see it. And it made $1 billion because it was a big 80s, 90s action movie again in 2022 or whenever it came out.
Films achieved massive success because they understood their core audience and how to appeal to them. Now imagine how detrimental it would have been if the studios tried to incorporate elements that appealed to the opposite
Plus,
gender.
it didn't make him a piece of shit.
Barbie's colorful...
He came back and he was actually knowledgeable.
exploration of female identity, empowerment, and self-actualization was interrupted by big macho action scenes with guns and explosions and technology porn.
I'd be
Or
alright
Top
with it.
Gun Maverick devoted lengthy sequences to a female pilot lamenting how difficult it is to gain respect in a male-dominated profession while maintaining her sense of feminine identity and her aspirations for marriage and family. In both cases, the core target audience would probably have rolled their eyes and thought, why do they have to inject this crap into my movie and totally spoil the fun? Well, congratulations, now you know how it feels to be a fan of any of the big franchises over the past decade or so. The thing is, I think the message is finally starting to sink in with the good people of Hollywood. Maybe not the creatives, but definitely the soulless money men paying.
Okay. I think the soulless money men are just realizing that there's no way to escape the fact that they need to go back to make money. That they thought they could find an alternate way to make money with their evil little investment firms, BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, shit like that. But now they're really, no, even that, we need to go back to the core audience, and the core audience isn't buying this anymore. And the core audience, of course, as you just saw, is mostly fucking men, unfortunately. Or fortunately, I don't know.
In their salaries, who've spent the past several years watching their profit margins slowly fall off a cliff. Like I said earlier, for every 50 or so actions, there's a belated reaction from Hollywood, and it's finally starting to happen now. The first domino to fall is Silk Spider
Wow.
Society, a female-centric Spider-Man spin-off in development at Amazon Prime. According to the press releases, the entire writing team's been fired, and the show is being refocused with
Yep,
a
we
more
did a story on
male-skewing
this.
audience
Think it's
in
true.
mind. Now, this might not sound like much of a big deal, but it is.
Oh no, it's a fucking big deal. That they fired their writing staff. Well, first of all, I think the firing of the writing staff was because they had to get rid of them anyway. That was a whole second part of the article. But the fact that that also lets them now hire a new staff that will actually write this and skewer towards a male audience, yeah, that's a win. That's a dub.
Because it's the first time that a studio had the balls to publicly declare that they're targeting a project towards a male audience
That part,
again.
yeah.
In 2024, that's the equivalent of a vegan restaurant saying that their new menu is going to cater towards meat eaters. It's the first time that anyone in Hollywood's openly admitted that what they've been pushing on us for the past decade or so just isn't working, no matter how much money they throw at it. That you can't make.
And you can thank, I would say, you can thank Reacher, Terminalist, Jack Ryan. You can thank those shows for that. Yellowstones, and those got people okay.
Every movie appeal to every person. That trying to attract female audiences into a male-dominated genre with clumsy pandering doesn't work and never will work. In the words of Nerdrotic, all they're doing is taking boy brands that everyone could enjoy and turning them into girl brands that no one enjoys. So what exactly?
Wow, okay. Let's give credit to fucking Chris Gore, for saying the biggest mistake of Disney will be turning girl brands into boy brands into girl brands. Star Wars, rather, when he and Marvel. Now I think he said it about something else. But yeah, no, that thought originally came from Chris Gore. Shout out Chris Gore.
Can we expect now that the pendulum's starting to swing the other way? And more importantly, what do we want to see moving forwards? Well, believe it or not, I don't think their approach needs to change that radically if they want to win back old fans and restore a bit of balance. Franchises like Marvel, Star Wars, DC, and Star Trek can still have plenty of kick-ass female heroes going on exciting adventures. They just need to be written more like actual human beings with believable flaws and weaknesses and challenges.
But then you'd actually have to have writers that were actual human beings with life experiences capable of writing people, but they don't. So got to fix that part first, or all of this course correction will amount to the same.
To overcome, instead of overbearing, obnoxious power fantasies that nobody can identify with. And they need to be balanced out by equally strong and capable male heroes that appeal to male audiences. Because believe it or not, those are the driving force behind your box office revenue. They need characters who can actually challenge and push them to be better, who don't automatically give way to them at the slightest sign of conflict, instead of the neutered lumps of wet lettuce that we've been getting, who are always portrayed as less smart, less skilled,
Wait. What do you think Pedro's going to be like as Reed Richards?
less confident, and, well, just less in general. And yeah, after almost a decade of trying to make it work, I think it's about time to accept that the great experiment has been a complete failure. You're not going to get equal numbers of women to watch science fiction or action or superhero movies, just like you're not going to get equal numbers of men to watch romance flicks or musicals. The Girlboss concept is dead. You might not like it, but your audience is your audience all the same. And if
It's not dead, but it was never alive. But they're still going to keep doing it, even if they try and hide it, unfortunately.
you don't start catering to them, you might just find that they no longer exist. And perhaps neither will you. Anyway, That's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Oh,
Now, I believe
yeah,
it was
no,
Newton's third
I'll
law
have to
of
pay him for this one. All right. Yeah. Thank you, drinker. Agree with a lot of that. I guess disagree with some of it. They're not going to go away anytime soon, but maybe the hard money men are learning it. But like I said, if they don't get rid of the writers that can't write, the same bad people, the same cooks in the kitchen will just cook more bad meals, even if you've narrowed down their purview. Let me know what you think of this in the comments. Like, share, sub if you've done that. Thank you. If you're gonna do that, thank you. And well,
Well, bye.